No.
I think he's starting.
All right, I call this meeting to order at 6:31. Thank you for your patience. Welcome, good evening, Santa Paula. We are going to start with our invocation, and our dear friend Deacon is here to start us off. So I ask that you please turn off your cell phones, and please rise.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we gather here to thank you and to humbly ask for your blessing for our community. Guide us by your wisdom and the grace given by the Holy Spirit so that we may reach unity. And let not pride, nor envy, nor greed be our compass. We thank you for the gifts to live freely in this country, even as we acknowledge our differences that can be discussed with no malice or rancor. It's the ability of these differences to acknowledge them, to discuss them, to remain cordial and respectful of those who have different views. That, after all, is one of the hallmarks of our country and our community. And we remind ourselves that we must never grow weary of doing what is right. Amen.
Thank you very much. We're going to have Ms. Castillo lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hand over your heart. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We are going to start with, proceed with our roll call. Ms. Latshaw.
Councilmember Crosswhite.
Present.
Councilmember Cornejo.
Here.
Councilmember Ornelas.
Present.
Vice Mayor Juarez.
Here.
Mayor Chavez.
Here.
All present.
Do we have a closed session report, Ms. Castillo?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this evening, council recessed into closed session over conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54957.6. City representatives were City Manager Dan Singer, Finance Director Christy Ramirez, Human Resources Administrator Lorena Alvarez. The employer organizations involved were the Professional Supervisory Association and Unrepresented Employees Executive Management. There were no reportable actions taken this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, Ms. Castillo. We're moving on to item 6, public comment. I remind you that you have 3 minutes to speak to the council on issues not currently on the agenda. And it looks like we have 2 individuals, Ronald Arrejo, representing public comment. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor Chavez, Vice Mayor Juarez, council members, staff, and the public. My name is Ronald Arrejo, and I'm speaking as one of the board members of the Filipino American Council of Ventura County, inviting you and all residents to the Filipino American Fiesta to be held at the Ventura County Museum this month on Sunday, October 19. Since its inception in 1987, the Council has played a pivotal role in fostering communication among member organizations, serving as a central hub for coordination and representation. Committed to promoting harmony and understanding within the Filipino American community in Ventura County, the Council is dedicated to encouraging active participation in various spheres of community life, including civic, economic, cultural, social, and charitable programs. The Council is the umbrella organization for 13 Filipino American clubs, championing the engagement of member organizations in projects at enhancing the general well-being of the community, thereby ensuring its continued growth and prosperity and serving as a cornerstone of Filipino American identity and representation in Ventura County. The Fiesta is a free event to celebrate culture and community. It will be a vibrant afternoon filled with inspiring speakers, traditional Filipino dance performances, and delicious snacks. Discover the rich history and diverse stories of Filipino Americans through music, art, and conversation. In honor of Filipino American History Month in this month of October, this is the first time that the Museum of Ventura County will host this event to bring the history of the past for us to learn in the present and to act positively in the future. The Council of Ventura County invites you to learn more at the Filipino American Fiesta on Sunday, October 19 at the Ventura County Museum. I'll be passing out some handouts at the event to your city clerk to pass along to you all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Can we make sure that we have his contact information so we can get that electronically and promote through our social media channels? Ventura. Thank you so much, Ms. Acho. Next up, we have Gabrielle. Welcome, Gabrielle Holguin.
Hello. I'm vertically challenged, but I promise my personality is not. Nice to meet you all. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Gabrielle Olguin, and I live at the intersection of Bradley and Santa Paula Street. I recently submitted a formal letter regarding the dangerous traffic conditions at this intersection, and I appreciate City Manager Dan Singer's response and referral to the Traffic Safety Committee. I'm here tonight to ensure the seriousness of this issue stays in focus and to urge this council to support real action once the committee completes its review. Just last week, we had two separate accidents in the span of 2 days, both likely caused by speeding. But these are not isolated events. In fact, this has been a concern in our neighborhood for decades. Roughly 7 years ago, a pregnant female lost her life at this very intersection due to high speed in the same spot. Over 20 years ago, on a personal note, we lost a pet for the same reason. And the concern goes back even further than that. Residents here have been calling for traffic calming solutions for years with little change. This is a well-traveled route for families, school children, and pedestrians. It has inadequate signage, no physical speed deterrence, and almost no enforcement. Every day, cars fly through that intersection at dangerous speeds, and every day we hope that it's not the day that someone else gets hurt or killed. I'm asking the council to stay engaged with this issue, not just through the traffic committee, but through budget and policy support for actual safety improvements. Solutions such as speed dips, flashing beacons, improved signage are not extreme asks. They are basic tools to prevent lives and protect lives. Thank you for your time, and I hope we can finally take steps towards a safer street for everyone.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming and sharing your community concern. Director, could you make sure you get your card to Gabrielle? We have a new director of Public Works that we want to make sure you connect with. Thank you very much. All right, we have presentations. We are going to postpone 7A until October 15th. Unfortunately, the youth who competed in the Future Farmers program at the Ventura County Fair are competing tonight, so they can make it. All right, so we're going to move to 7B, and I hear you only have 5 minutes, sir. It's a joke, but this is part of the heart of the city, and we just love to hear all the wonderful things that come through Parks and Recs.
I mentioned to the city manager, when I hear the music play, I'll know it's time up. So anyways, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I'll be reporting on activities for the Parks and Recreation Department from May through August of this year. So a review of some of our classes, continue to have participation in archery, taekwondo, and gymnastics. You can see our gymnastics program is super popular. We've added additional classes and days. The taekwondo program also is going well.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
I didn't even get through a slide yet. But taekwondo is also going really well, and the instructor has even reported back to us that some of the kids have participated in different events and tournaments, so representing Santa Paula. Our youth sports programs during the summer offered blacktop basketball at the sports park, 65 participants. Our T-ball program, drop-in volleyball, you might see it at Teague Park. Participants out there, it's very informal. We set up volleyball, and it's kind of one of those things, if you build it, they will come. And we have participants, youth and adults, that come and play volleyball in the park. And then our track and field from last year with the school district, and also our 5v5 micro soccer that we partner with the school district and our other school districts in the area. We had 350 participants, and that was our first year running the 5v5 soccer program. Youth Center continues to tick along. It was, you'll see a little bit later, we focused on the Youth Center area as part of our Santa Paula Beautiful Day as well, and painted the building and did some cleanup around the area in the park. Continue to partner with our Aspire program. Obviously, there's a break of Aspire coming over in the summer, but that's picked back up with the school year starting. And that works, they come 3 or 4 days a week. And then also, De Colores has partnered with us, and they are offering art classes to the youth, and we are also collaborating with them to do a mural. So they're working with an artist. The youth will get involved and actually design the mural and work with the artist to actually paint the mural there at the youth center. So we're currently undergoing that project. Our mobile activity center during the summer, visited various parks, spent 8 weeks. Summer camp tends to be 4 to 5, 6 weeks, kind of depends on the school district schedule for the summer programming. So we continue with our mobile activity center for the duration of the time the kids are out of school. We had a lot of outdoor games. They get to do play with sports equipment. On Fridays, we bring our wagon train and jolly jumpers. I know our police department was very involved. They would show up, see the kids out there. I saw pictures of them even driving the train once with the kids and interacting. So it was really a fun summer, and I know the neighborhoods enjoyed it. The YARA program, another successful cohort. We had all 13 participants complete and graduate. They earned 5 different industry-recognized certifications: OSHA 10, confined space, traffic control, hazardous waste, and CPR and first aid. We encouraged a few of them to apply for our City Corps program, and I know, I believe one of them was able to start, out of this cohort, start working as well. So they did 2 large projects too at our corporate yard, pouring foundation and concrete, and learned how to do concrete work. So they did an excellent job. Our next cohort, as just a little promo, will start in February. So if anybody's interested, they could reach out to us. Just a little flyer on our YARA program. We are currently hosting a intern through partnership with Goodwill and the county program. Her name is Anna Sanchez. She's doing a wonderful job for us. Actually, she presented, we had our rec commission meeting last week, and she actually presented at our rec commission, gave an update on the sports park. We work with our interns to create SMART goals, so they actually have projects they're working on when they're with us. Anna's goals while she's with us is to plan and lead a teen activity at the youth center. So she'll organize a vision board and work with creating a goal and what kind of program she'd like to run with the youth. And then also collaborate with a local nonprofit to gain experience for community outreach and working with community partners. So she works with our staff. Nina Inzueta and Michael Schouten are overseeing her and working with her on a daily basis. She's in our office from 9 to 1 daily. City Corps continues to do projects around town. We're going to start to see a turnover. Some of our City Corps youth are starting to move on and find different opportunities, which is part of the program. So we do have around 8 or 9 new City Corps leader trainees that will be joining us hopefully in the next 30 days or so. But our teams are out. They're involved in programs like Cruise Night and 4th of July. One place you do not see them, but they were there twice a month. They're doing power washing on downtown on the P-bit area. They start at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was a little shocked when I asked them some of their favorite projects, and that is actually one of their favorite projects. And it surprised me because they have to be at work at 4 o'clock in the morning, but they actually enjoy doing it, and they work alongside our staff. They also have done alley cleanups. Here they are cleaning some weeds along sidewalks and doing things. So total hours worked during this last portion was 1,941, and they completed 174 projects. And then moving on to some adult programming classes, we continue to offer archery, Zumba, yoga. They also have a volleyball drop-in and pickleball. You can see that pickleball at the community center is really gaining steam. It's really getting busy. I did tell them once we kind of transition into hopeful pickleball courts at maybe the sports park, that the community center pickleball might transition that way, and I think they were a little disappointed, so that might be a discussion we have to have, because I think they enjoy coming there, but we're really seeing a lot of participation. They're able to play Monday mornings and Monday evenings. We hosted the Santa Paula Creek Sports Park grand opening. Was an awesome day to kind of bring everybody together. Staff worked hard to be prepared. That's the Parks and Rec crew there on the right. Continue to maintain the park, and we'll show some numbers about activity here in the next couple of slides. Hosted 3 summer movie nights in June, July, and August. Also had our inaugural, if you will, concerts in the parks. We offered 3 concerts during the summer. They were a success, and we know next year we'll grow the program, but for the inaugural year, it was a good success and learning curve for us. Hosted Santa Paula Beautiful. We had, as I mentioned earlier, 65 volunteers, did a lot of work at the Las Piedras Park and the youth center. You can see them there painting the youth center. I'll also note that a side project, if you will, was painting the police station. So the front and around the side of the police station, we had some volunteers there. Most of the volunteers at the police station were police personnel, officers, and their families. So that was really a nice day. Our 4th of July celebration was a hit. We had a bunch of activities, great vendors, food, learned a lot as well. Did not expect over 8,000 attendees at the park that day. So now that we know, we're going to attract that. We're working on next year already, forming a committee to work on the 4th of July show for 2026. But staff did a wonderful job. We had activities for kids, music. Fireworks got off a little late, but they did happen. But another successful fireworks show. And we do think the sports park was a good location for that, although there's challenges. But we, again, learned a lot from this year, and we'll improve on it next year. Moving into senior services, I'm currently serving over 150 seniors in classes such as enhanced fitness, chair yoga, knitting club, Zumba, bone builders. Bone builders is a super popular class. Continue to offer field trips and have movies and luncheons, which are hosted in the auditorium. And our lunches continue to draw over 100 seniors at every lunch. I was able to go with them. They allowed me to, if you will, our seniors, to go with them to the fair this year. So that was a nice day. I had a hard time keeping up with them, to be quite honest with you. They take advantage of every moment, but they really enjoyed the fair, and it was fun to go along with them. We hosted our senior wellness fair, had over 20 vendors, over 100 senior participants where they can get different information from different vendors and resources, and then enjoyed a nice lunch. That was May 7th. We do that every May in recognition of Older Americans Month during the month of May. Our senior nutrition program continued to serve our meals. We had 2,143 congregate meals, 2,164 home-delivered meals, and then you'll see 137 city-funded Friday meals. So as this last budget cycle, we asked for some extra funding to be able to provide meals. So, and as you know, the funding has kind of been reduced from the state through to the county. So this has allowed us on Fridays, we are using local restaurants and feeding the seniors that way. So we kind of take a pre-order, and we've been ordering from different restaurants, and they've really enjoyed that. So total meals served, 4,444, and meals served fiscal year to date is 2,538. So we're continually looking for ways and opportunities to continue to serve and serve more seniors. The Senior Advisory Committee formed an ad hoc committee to look at approaching local restaurants and vendors to see if we can get sponsors for additional meals, so that we'll make our dollars stretch even further. Santa Paula Master Plan for Aging, completed that plan. As you know, it came before you all July 2nd. You adopted it. We'll also be working with the Senior Advisory Committee. They formed an ad hoc so that we can start going through the master plan and bring recommendations back to council and report back to you. Moving on to parks and facilities, sports park, we continue, they continue preparations for the grand opening, and we continue to provide maintenance to the facility. Teague Park, we performed comprehensive turf maintenance, did the same at Las Piedras Park, and then we continue to perform maintenance on all the right-of-ways and medians throughout the city. Completed our citywide weed abatement. County sends us our parcels, if you will, every year that need attention for the weed abatement season, so our staff coordinates that. We completed tree well placement of all the metal grates along Main Street. A lot of the grates were lifting or had been removed because over time the trunks had grown, so we've gone back and we recut those, if you will, and put them back into place. We've been doing those little by little, a few at a time, but the staff continues to do that, and I believe all of Main Street is done, at least the ones that we can replace. We, at the community center, installed a new alarm system at the community center, probably been there for about 20, 25 years, so just finished that project. Our maintenance team is very involved with our City Corps program and provide a lot of support. The Main Street power washing is one of those things. Our staff is there with them in the morning, at least one staff, as they power wash and training them and teaching them. So I want to thank our facilities team for that. And then our staff was also very involved with the Rose Garden dedication to Nancy and Gary Nasal Road and preparing that and getting the Rose Garden ready and installing the plaque. So I thank them for that as well. Let me go back one second. So I just always want to note, there were 3,853 work orders issued and 3,860 work orders completed. I know that's more than was issued because sometimes there's a few from the previous period that maybe were hanging out there, didn't get done. So, and then graffiti work orders were 187 and 189 of them were completed. So issued versus completed. Tree maintenance, we lost 4 trees this last period and planted 20. So that's better than a 2-to-1 ratio, although I think we're still behind a little bit overall, and we pruned 467 trees. That's basically represents grid 2. Got through a lot of grid 2 pruning. And then on the admin side, continued to work on CIP projects like City Hall campus security fencing and police station remodel, Teague Park restrooms, which you'll have on your agenda this evening, to consider approval of purchasing a restroom for the Teague Park, Union Old Oil Building upgrades and maintenance. We remodeled the community center restroom renovation, just finished the renovation there. We're able to purchase a Ford Lightning as part of the budget this last year. You approved us to purchase a new vehicle, and we did that. Produced our summer recreation guide, finalized the department budget for the 2-year budget, and worked on updating department user fees as part of the user fee study that will hopefully be coming to you all soon. You can see on the right there, the bottom, that's our new truck. That's the 1991 truck that it replaced. So we were still using a truck from 1991 for maintenance things. So, and then the mower on the top is also a mower that we were able to purchase for the sports park that's used just on the sports field turf. We had staff participate in various professional development opportunities. Michael Schouten went to CPRS training on financial sustainability. And with the help of human resources, we also were able to promote 2 employees. Martin Montelongo is now a lead maintenance worker for our department, and Michael Schouten is now admin analyst 2, was previously admin analyst 1. So it's nice to be able to promote from within, especially our 2 employees, well-deserved. And then again, administratively, we worked alongside to host along with the Santa Paula Rotary, to host the dedication event for Nancy and Gary Nasal Road for the Rose Garden. And then here's just some numbers. I won't necessarily go through them all, but pointing out Harding Park, this was during baseball season, so a lot of use out there at Harding Park during this time. And then the sports park barbecue pavilions, we're seeing a lot of use. I mean, they are in use almost every weekend. They're getting a lot of high use, and the sports fields are starting to really see a lot of use. So it's kind of exciting if you're out there on the weekends, it's pretty packed. And then coming soon, grid 3 pruning for our tree pruning will be happening here, hopefully fall of 2025. What's nice about this is we did a 4-year plan for the tree maintenance. We thought it would take us 6 to 7 years to get through it because of the budget. but our staff's been able to be creative, and we're actually on target. So this is third year of our tree pruning cycle, and we're on year 3. So we're on target to finish on time or get through our cycle on time. We have some senior luncheons coming up in October, November, December. Senior Center Chumash trip, so that's a popular trip for them. Halloween Carnival will be on Saturday, October 25th this year. And then Santa Pancake Breakfast a little bit down the road, but that'll be December 6th. And then Santa will be visiting us December 16th through the 19th. And with that, that's my presentation for this evening, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, council members? Yes.
Just a quick comment, probably on behalf of all of the council. We're just amazed by how many people you touch through your department, and always in a very positive way. So just appreciate all that you do with the number of people that you have working there.
Thank you.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
Because there's such excitement happening in your department, and it just impacts, like Ms. Cornejo said, the entire city. Phase 2 of our sports park, when do you think that's going to start trickling in terms of activity?
Well, a landscape architect has been hired, so we're going through that process right now to finalize construction plans and things based on council's approved design. I'm optimistic that construction would start maybe within like 18 months. Does that sound too optimistic, or? Yeah, so probably see some construction in about 18 months. And then, haven't had this discussion yet, but I would think it's at least 12 months of probably construction.
Great.
Yeah.
The second piece, I think you're going to do something with the senior center sign.
Yes.
It's because you've kind of
Yeah, we.
need some TLC.
Yeah, we are. We actually are currently getting quotes to replace the sign. Well, the signage is like non-existent, but
Right.
put new signage up and update that sign.
That's wonderful. And then I know we had a meeting with ASO, and you were able to accommodate as much as possible. How did that go?
Great, they're out there playing. I saw them this last Saturday, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, their games are,
And they were able to keep
All right,
the little ones in that.
they
Yeah.
play inside the softball field, and that outfield right there is where the small
The
fields are
smaller
set
field.
up. Yeah,
So it worked out. Thank you for your
Yeah.
creativity in solving that.
sure.
And then the Bronca. I know that you've had some plans for that space. Is there any movement on that, or?
So we were working to finish up the senior master plan, because we had a lot of master plans in the works, and so we finished that one. We're, just had a discussion today that we need to set one more community meeting. So we're putting together, currently summarizing the 3 meetings we've had. So we have our notes, and then this will be kind of a larger scale. We'll really ramp it up and have like one more at least community meeting, and then come before council with a conceptual design, or this is what we've heard, and this is kind of what we think the Bronca can be, and then we'll go from there. So that's where we stand now. I would hope that within the next few months, we'll have that community meeting, and then come back to council.
That's great. And then the final thing is, the hot topic of the day has been the federal shutdown. Is there any impact to any of your departments regarding that?
No, we don't anticipate any. We did reach out. The one concern I think we had was to our senior nutrition program, but we did reach out to the county, and they don't anticipate any impact to that program. So as of right now, we feel we're good.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you again for everything you do.
right,
in your
thank you.
department. All right, we're moving on to Public Works. Director Goodman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and members of the community. I will endeavor to stay within 10 minutes. So this presentation is actually a little bit old at this time, so I'll take a couple minutes at the end and talk about things that have happened in the last 2 months. But just to go over this, which button do I press here? Right there. Okay, so overview of this presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about contracts, solid waste, wastewater, water streets, fleet, the SoCal Edison Microgrid Incentive Program, and the Capital Improvements Program, active projects, and then the PMP that we will be putting together later this year, and council will be involved in that discussion as we get that ready for the coming year. Consultant contracts, we have 14 professional service contracts and agreements for a lot of different programs in the city: engineering, water, wastewater, street maintenance, solid waste, and you can see the numbers there. The approved budget of $2.84 million and what has been encumbered so far. So we rely at this point heavily on contract work to get the things done that we need to get done in the city. Solid waste and recycling, we're still trying to work through the request from Athens, but this gives you a good idea about what is going on with solid waste and what Athens is actually accomplishing for the city. 4,425 tons of solid waste and 2,596 tons of recycling and organic waste during this 4-month period. So they're out there, they're busy, they're very heavily involved in the community, a lot of outreach and community participation, as you can see with various clubs. I like particularly the One Step a la Vez at Mixed Language Club. That's interesting. Next slide. The wastewater division. This is, as I said, is actually pretty old. We are nearly at 100% on the design of the advanced water treatment facility. And so we've been involved in meetings with with MKN and to look things over and make sure it's going where we want it to go. And so we're excited about that. The first of the blower replacements has occurred. At this point, the Larry Walker Associates completed their review of the city's industrial pretreatment program, and they also did they went out and looked at some of the contributors, heavy contributors to the salt, the chlorides that we have in the system. The city went to made a great effort to reduce chlorides by getting water softeners out of the city, or salt-based water softeners, that is. And so that's been very effective, but there are still some heavy contributors that we're looking at and seeing what we can do pre-treatment-wise to reduce the chlorides that they're putting into the system. The water division, there's, better go back. Our water system is a grade 4, D4 system, distribution 4, and so that means we have to have at least one person in the city who has their distribution 4 and their treatment 4 in order to run our system, and we do. And we have a T5, D5. Our system chief system operator has grade 5 credentials, and then we have another person who has the grade 4 credentials. And so we have a little redundancy there. Unfortunately, we just heard that one of our first employee to have a D3, or our one employee that has a D3 is leaving the city. He's actually a WSO3, and he's going to be leaving the city. In fact, any day now. He's been in and talked to me and is going to depart to do a different kind of work that he would like to pursue. So on the upside, we do have someone who has passed their WSO3 test. They just have to be a WSO2 long enough to actually be able to advance in grade. You can see there the numbers, a lot of water being produced, a lot of after-hours calls, water quality samples, valve leaks, repairs. We do a lot of USA responses, so anytime someone's going to dig in the street or anywhere around any of our water facilities, we go out and mark our facilities to make sure that, well, hopefully, they won't dig them up or damage them. Frank Michael is the Water System Operator 2, who has just passed his Grade 3 exam. So we're excited about him. He's already a great asset to the city and is learning a lot and moving along really quickly as he can. Streets Division is doing a good job, but we lost our supervisor several months ago. He's had some health issues, and he's been working through those, and it looks like he's doing well, but won't be returning to work until the end of October. And so in his absence, with him present, we have 5 people in streets, and so with him gone, we're down 20%. And then all of his experience, that nearly 20 years of experience that he has with roads, is also lost. So they've done a pretty good job considering how young they are and the experience level in streets. They've done a lot of good things, setting up and taking down cruise night. We had a movie being filmed here. They were involved in that, making sure that the streets were blocked off and so on and so forth. They've been out painting red curb and put a lot of asphalt down. We still have a lot of roads that aren't beautiful, and so they're still patching potholes and doing things like that. So they're doing a great job with a very small crew. And speaking of small crews, our fleet division, they provide maintenance for the vehicles, all the city's vehicles, and it's a 3-person crew. And for the last couple of months, we've been down to 1 person in fleet maintenance. And so it's been very difficult for him to try and keep up with the demand. He's done a great deal of work on his own time after hours, and to try and keep things moving forward. And then he's also had to go to some outside sources to get some of the work done, because he just couldn't do all the work himself. We now have one of the employees, of the 3 employees, 2 of them were out at the same time for over 2 months, and then one of them has now returned to work. He's had some health issues. He's recovering from surgery, and so his workload has to be kind of light. And then we've also picked up an employee, a part-time employee, through the same county program that we have the parks employee, and so this is his first employment of his life, and so he's learning how to do something and how to work and what is expected. And so he doesn't have any experience as a mechanic, but he's starting to learn how things are organized and how to take care of tools and things like that. And as he goes along, he will get some experience actually taking care of vehicles. And you can see there the kinds of the work that has been done, the number of service orders for the different departments that actually have vehicles. I mentioned earlier about the Southern California Edison Microgrid Incentive Program. That is actually, we're getting towards the end of that process, and it's been a lengthy process. In the first cycle of that, there was only one applicant that actually made it through and received an award, a grant award, and that was LA County. And it appears that the city of Santa Paula is the only still around applicant that from cycle 2. So we're still going through the process. At this time, our technical expert engineering firm, they are working with the city to get our application done. First, we had to apply to even apply, and then after our first application was accepted, then we had to hire a firm to do work for us. Actually, SoCal Edison is paying the firm to do this application work for us. That application has to be in by the 28th of November. And then early in the first quarter of 2026, we should find out from Edison if we're going to be granted any money to actually put the microgrids in place. Let's see, capital improvement programs. We've had water projects, crosswalk projects. The Main Street crosswalk project was completed early in this last period. The 10th Street Ojai Road crosswalk improvements, that we're still working with Caltrans. Had a meeting with them a few days ago. They always show up with about 100 engineers for their phone calls, and but we believe we're making progress and that we are going to be able to get those street crosswalks taken care of during the Caltrans project that is currently underway on 10th and Ojai Road. So we're excited about getting that done. Their big concern was they thought that we wanted them to pay for everything, which we didn't. And once they understood that we had money to pay for the work, we just needed their contractor to do the work, then their position softened considerably, and they felt like, oh yeah, well, we can do that. So they decided they weren't just going to turn us away. I believe this is probably my second to last slide. We completed the year 5 of cycle 1 of the pavement management program, and so now we're getting ready to start planning cycle 2. And that's what I mentioned early on, that's something that you as council will be involved in, or city engineer, and everybody who needs to be involved in that will be involved in it, so we can figure out how to address the streets in this next cycle. We anticipate this is going to be the final cycle of this pavement, this first go through for the city streets. And at the end of cycle 2, we think that we're going to be, that every street will have been looked at and will have been paved and treated in some way. And then we will start looking at how do we address not just the streets, but the underlying infrastructure in a more systematic way, so that we're taking care of the underground infrastructure before we put down new asphalt. And that will span many years, but after we get through that process, then the sewer lines, the water lines, everything will be in great shape, and we'll have great roads on top of them. And so we won't have the leaks and going out, and we won't be digging up our pipe because we have a leak right after we put down new asphalt. So that's where we ultimately want to get. We will get there, maybe not while I'm alive, but we will get there as a city. So Measure R is one of the big things that has made it possible for us to be more aggressive, and so we're looking forward to that. So, and then just some other things that we wanted to make you aware of. Of course, we have the fall paving program that we've already addressed with you, that will be getting underway shortly. And then, in addition to that, we were at the meeting last night with the Measure T committee and talked to them about funding the lighting project on 8th Street with the solar powered lights, and they have given us funding to do that project. So shortly we will be putting out an RFP or an RFQ to get a supplier to provide the lights, and then we'll be getting a contractor to install those lights on 8th Street. And that will give us a good look at that kind of lighting and see if that's something we want to continue to pursue throughout the city. The members of the Measure T committee were really pretty excited. They accepted it really well, and so they gave us that money. In addition to that, they also gave us money so that we can pave the parking lot behind the, well, on the south side of, what is that, South Alley, I suppose it's called, Green Street Alley, that parking lot. And so they provided some additional Measure T funds so that we can do that parking lot in this fall paving cycle. So we're excited about getting that done as well. And I think that's what I have. Are there any questions?
Council members, Ms. Crosswhite?
Yeah, so you said pending the contracting, but do you have a rough idea of when the fall pavement program will begin?
In the fall. Is that rough enough?
Okay, well, I'm just, so, all right, two questions related to that. I don't need an exact date, but as it moves forward, just making sure that we're, I guess one is a comment, making sure that we're communicating clearly.
Yes.
And two, if it ends up being over the holidays, like it was last year, making sure that we are coordinating with our trash hauler so that folks aren't left without their trash being picked up the day before Thanksgiving.
We will be doing all those things. And I actually think we're going to be, sometime in October, we should be kicking off the paving program.
Okay.
And it's not a huge program. We're really just kind of cleaning up the end of Phase 5 of Cycle 1. And so all of these roads were on that Phase 5, and we're just going to get them all done and hopefully pave a couple of parking lots, not just the one, but a couple of the parking lots.
And did we ever have a chance to look into any sewer covers that weren't uncovered after the last year's paving?
We're looking into that, and those are going to be addressed.
Okay. Yeah, so as we go into next year's paving, I just want to keep that on our mind, and whoever the contractor is that does the next round of work, reminding them to be aware of those when they
Right.
do the project. How about Park and Orchard? Where are we at on getting those streets? Because I know that those have the major sewer work.
I'll have to ask Bob about that. Are those Park and Orchard, are they part of the fall program?
Park and Orchard are going to be done after the water mains are replaced,
Right.
which will likely be spring of next year. So the water main work will be done first, and then we'll follow on with paving the streets.
Okay,
So
but
summer,
spring of
late
next
fall
year
of
is
next
what
year.
you're, okay. And, all right, those were my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Juarez?
Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Director Goodman, for your report. In your slide, you mentioned about grinding of trip hazards, so obviously those appear to be sidewalks.
Yes.
Do you have any idea how many were ground down?
There may have actually been a number there. Now I've got to get my glasses back on so I can read it.
And my follow-up question to that would be, were those because of a reported trip or identified as trip hazards?
So we don't have a program or personnel to go out and just survey all the sidewalks. And so usually they are reported. Occasionally, they're reported because someone has fallen and been injured.
Okay.
But the vast majority are just people recognizing that there is a trip hazard and letting us know, and then we go and deal with it. It didn't say here how many trip hazards they took care of. I could find that out for you.
No, what's probably more important than that is, are we going to come up with a sidewalk management plan? And I know there's talk about it, but we really need to implement one, and I know there's been discussion. And if you're going to get council input on the pavement, probably would be a good idea to get input on sidewalks as well. So do you have any idea when that might come to fruition?
I don't have, it's something I've been looking at. I've actually been looking at hardware and software for analyzing sidewalks the same way that we analyze streets and determine, what condition they're in and rating those so we know what we need to go and look at. There is some pretty good systems out there, including just hiring personnel. There are some engineering schools that send out first-year engineering students, and basically contract them out to go out and do that kind of survey. And so they walk every sidewalk, and they rate the sidewalks, and they, come back with a report. And so that, to have a real program, that's something that needs to take place. That's really the foundation of a program, is understanding first what is the condition of the sidewalks. And the sidewalks are in as bad a condition as most of the roads in a lot of areas. And I just went out the other day and walked, is it Santa Barbara Street, that's the side of the railroad tracks? I think it is, just south of the railroad tracks. And the south side of that street, there's some really bad sidewalk that needs to just be removed and replaced for maybe 70 or 80 feet of sidewalk. It's just really bad. It's kind of interesting. I'm not sure exactly why that stretch of sidewalk is so bad when the adjacent stretches of sidewalk are so much better. Perhaps it was just a bad batch of concrete or something, or perhaps it's tree roots or something like that that have caused some problems. I don't know, but it was just kind of interesting to see how different that area was. And so it's not every area that's bad. It's pockets that are bad. But the key really is to understanding what our sidewalks look like first, so that we can develop a program.
And hopefully with the improvement of our pavement, our claims have gone down for vehicles being damaged on the streets. And our hope would be that claims would lessen as well when we get a sidewalk maintenance program in place. So that should hopefully be a priority. Thank you.
We try to respond as quickly as possible when we get a report.
Thank you.
Ms. Cornejo.
Thank you, and thanks for the report. Is it possible for you to get to city manager to distribute to us the list of the streets that will be addressed this fall? Because that's a question that comes up a lot, and it would be really helpful information to have at hand. So,
Yes, that's possible.
okay.
We will get that.
But
to the
appreciate
city.
that. That just answers a lot of questions that we get day to day.
It's also a good opportunity to point out the website improvement.
Oh, that's correct. So the website is constantly being worked on. We have some really good people doing that. One of the things that they've added to the Public Works part of the website is a map that will show any projects that we have going in the city. You'll be able to look at those, you'll be able to zoom in and expand those and see. When you first look at it, it's just a dot, but as you zoom in, you see that there's actually a street under that dot, and and how long, how many blocks the work goes for, things like that. And so that's really a nice thing for citizens to be able to look at and see what's going on in a specific area in their neighborhood, things like that. Another thing that we're working on still is trying to get the signage up for the street sweeping. And we were just ready to order the signage when our supervisor went out with his health issues, and then it just kind of fell through the cracks. And so I was on the phone with him yesterday, and we talked a little bit about that, and that's his first order of business. In fact, he may even get started on that before he gets back to work, and call that order in and make sure that it's underway so we can get those signs up.
Thank you. My other question is, a couple of years ago, my neighbor named Mary walked the whole bike path and wrote down every light that was out.
Right.
And made a schedule of it and passed that on to the city. Is that your department, or who replaces the lights and all of that? I'm just wondering how that's going. I honestly don't know. She hasn't reported it, so.
So we just got a report of a list of lights, and I don't remember if the person was named Mary, but there were probably 18 or 20 lights that needed to be replaced on the bike path. And so the roads crew went out and they replaced, they took all the bulbs that they had and they replaced what they could, And then they ordered more bulbs, and as soon as those came in, they went out and replaced the rest of the bulbs. So they should all be lit up at this point.
That's wonderful. Great. Thank you very much.
I have a few questions, sir. Ms. Sacha, would you go to the website, please, and go to the Public Works page? First and foremost, Director, I want to applaud you because you listened to one of the recommendations that we said, and what that recommendation was, we want to make sure that there is a mapping tool so that people can go in and see whether streets are being worked on. And I know that you have the framework now, so as we move into the fall schedule, just want to let our residents know where they can go and see some of this activity, because it's really crucial. I think it also, we had the example of our Community and Economic Development Department do that with active projects, but I think I'd be remiss if I didn't show the community where to navigate to get this information. So if you can go to, under departments, Public Works, at the bottom, yeah.
Before you go on, I just want to point out that although this is a great addition to the Public Works page, the Public Works Department isn't responsible for actually producing this and getting it on our page. That was the deputy city manager and the interns. They're not called interns, fellows. They got that put together for us. Now, they've also trained some Public Works people to be able to update that and make sure that our projects are on there. But I don't want to take credit for getting that in place. That was done by the admin team, actually.
That's great, but the point is that it was done.
Yes.
And that's one of the key things that I think that our residents have been asking for, and many have been frustrated because it's been, let's say, more than a year that there's been no street work, and we've been told, oh, it's coming, and a year, nothing's happened. And so I think this is an opportunity for, as things progress, people are going to be able to know, okay, let me go and check things out, what's happening, right? So one of the things that we made as an investment, this council in our budget process, was providing your department with the tools you need to provide additional training so that instead of contracting all this work out, we can have our own employees maybe learn new skills tied to, again, what the Vice Mayor said regarding sidewalks, as an example.
Right.
Where are we with the purchasing of that equipment and therefore training for the employees who will learn those new skills?
Some of those purchases are underway, and so we're moving forward with that. Another thing that is underway is the effort to hire an assistant public works director / city engineer and an associate engineer. And so we're finishing up the brochures, putting in pictures. The verbiage is all there. We just need to add some pictures, and then those will be ready to go out. And we'll get those jobs advertised and hopefully be successful in those recruitments. So that will help in that area. And but yes, we're getting that equipment as rapidly as we can. We were able to get one truck already, and we're working on the other equipment.
I did want to have you explain a little bit to help residents understand why things take longer than usual. And coming to our city, and being that you came to our city in this new role, obviously, one, we have aging infrastructure.
Right.
Right? And, but in general, could you just briefly explain a little bit about process it takes, especially when the major street projects are being done by a contractor, and what that process looks like? And so residents understand that, there's things that we can do, there's things that take longer, we don't have sometimes the capacity. Can you just explain a little bit about things that you've realized coming into the department?
Sure. So California isn't necessarily a unique state, but it's things are a little more complicated here than they are in Oregon or Utah, Washington, the other places that I've worked. A little more complicated, and labor laws are a little different in California than they are in some other states, and so those things complicate things and sometimes can lengthen the process. But the process, for example, for a roads, to do a roads project, first we have to figure out what roads we want to do, so there's that planning time that takes place. All the time we have money that's waiting to be put to use, but we've got to plan what roads we're going to do, put together that package, determine what we think that's going to, the value of that project, what it's going to cost to get that work done, because we don't have the ability to do it ourselves. Bring that to council, have council accept that and say, yes, you can go ahead and put that out. Put it out to bid. We put it out. It will take a month, probably at least. We'll give contractors a month to respond with their bids, and then we open those bids, and then we go through them very carefully to make sure that we're awarding the contract to the correct firm. And so if there's anything that is wrong with a bid, it can actually, that a firm that submitted that bid could actually be thrown out. Their bid could be thrown out because they've made a mistake, or they didn't include a document, or whatever. And so that takes some time to do that analysis and make sure we're awarding the contract to the proper firm. And then they, once we know who that firm is and they know that they've been selected, then the next step is to map out the timetable. This is our schedule. We're going to start on this date. We're going to mow in. We're going to start work, and we're going to work through these 15 or however many roads in this fashion. We're going to start here and work through this. There's a lot of factors along the way, weather being one of the big ones, that can impact the ability to do work in the field, whether it's underground or it's on, if paving or cement work. If it starts raining, if it gets cold, those weather events can cause delays to the process. And so that's why we try and do our paving in the fall and in the spring and in the summer, and not through the winter, because the weather becomes much more unpredictable during the winter months. And so all of those things, anywhere along the line, there can be things that happen that slow us down in that process. And it's complicated, as I said, by state laws, requirements, labor laws, things like that, further complicate things. And so we just have to be very careful, making sure that we're cognizant of all the requirements, that we're following the law, and because we don't want to get the city into a position where we've done something incorrectly and where somebody wants to sue us. We're trying to avoid that and make sure that we're operating in the correct manner all the time. We have really good legal counsel that helps reviews documents, make sure that we're doing things right. We have a really good finance director, city manager. You have a really competent staff here that try and help us to make sure that we're going the right direction and we're getting things done as quickly as we can. But there are things that are outside of our control, the weather being one of them. Supplies could become an issue, and when we're talking about oil, that's what we refer to. When we're talking about asphalt, it's the oil that usually is the price driver on asphalt, because if oil goes up, the price of asphalt goes up. If the price of oil goes down, the price of asphalt goes down. And sand and gravel kind of stay pretty much the same. They don't change very rapidly, but oil can change overnight drastically. And so all those things can cause delays in a project.
And in your professional opinion, you just talked about the weather. Spring went by, summer went by.
Well,
Gas prices were lower in those months. Why didn't we take advantage, in your professional opinion?
So-
Why didn't we do things sooner?
in my experience, the best time to be putting together a program is in the fall, bidding it right after the first of the year. The reason that is the best time is because that's when most companies are not paving. they're looking for work for the next spring, summer, and fall. And so you have a lot more firms that are hungry, looking for a job. Therefore, it's more competitive. You get better bids. If you bid late in the year, in the summer or the fall, all these companies have work already lined up, and they'll say, we think that a job should be $1 million. They'll bid $1.5 million. And if they get the job, great, they made an extra $500,000. If they don't get it, well, they've got plenty of work anyway. And so they really don't care that much late in the year. And so, as I said, that's my experience in all these years, is that we've always gotten the best bids when we go out to bid early in the year, in the calendar year. So January, February, we get our projects out, and that's what we're working on and trying to do with this first phase of Cycle 2, is to have something out early in the year and then have a project in the spring and in the fall. This year, we finished up the paving in the winter. This past year, we finished up paving in the winter and really didn't even complete it until after the first of the year. And then we're into the budget cycle and budget preparation. We didn't have money for the next, we're starting to generate money with Measure R. A lot of things were going on and so we really didn't have a project ready to go for the spring of 25. But we're going to get this project done here in the fall of 25, and then hopefully moving forward, we will have a good project every year, every spring and summer for the next 5 years, and we will complete all the work in the city.
Great, I appreciate that thorough explanation. In the streets that are coming, Ms. Cornejo mentioned the list of those streets. One of the things I think we wanted to make sure was included as part of the list was the PCI rating, because we had discussions before as a council regarding, what determines which streets go in the cycle or not. So
Right.
It'd be helpful if there's an update to, one, the PCI rating chart, because obviously Harvard's now been upgraded, but also we include that data in the new cycle, the one that's coming in fall, but also the one that's coming in spring and summer. It'd be helpful for us to look at that and compare how the city overall is getting its streets fixed, especially since we're now going into an accelerated program.
Right.
Great, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Any additional questions? Great, all right, we're moving on. Thank you, Director. To the City Council reports. I'll start with Ms. Ornelas.
I don't have anything to report.
All right, Ms. Crossway.
All right. Councilmember Ornelas and I have been working on our ad hoc immigration. We've started those conversations. We met with the first group. I know you've probably had people approach you. I've had people approach me. So we're in our information gathering phase. So nothing concrete to bring back to you all yet, but just so you know that we are working on that. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No, just people are reaching out, and I hope that we can consolidate some of those groups so that we can get the most out of our time with them and be able to listen, and then bring it back to council and be able to share what we've gathered and how we're moving forward.
I also wanted to remind everyone that on Saturday, October 11th, between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. is the e-waste and the hazardous household waste event. So if you have items with batteries, cords, computers, TVs, those kinds of things that shouldn't be going into the landfill, you can, as a Santa Paula resident, take proof of residence, and you can go down to the Corp Yard, down, I don't know the address. I know it's Corporation Street. I don't know the address of it. But you can take your e-waste or hazardous household waste down there for free and drop it off. You don't have to make an appointment. You just have to go between 8 and 12, 8 and noon. Let's see, this morning I attended the SCAG demographic workshop that will be posted tomorrow. If anyone is interested, I mean, they sort of market it mostly to planners, but there was great information there about sort of trends with population and how the population is getting older, but there aren't enough people coming into the workforce behind them. And so it has implications for, the importance of making sure that our kids in the school systems are educated, that we have enough of an immigrant workforce because we're not having enough children from people who are already here to support the when you do your projections out into the future. So there's a lot of great information around all of, birth rates, immigration rates, population, how people are distributed. So anyway, it was really interesting, and that will be posted on the SCAG website starting tomorrow. I had my SCAG Executive Committee meeting, and we're just continuing to talk about the Connect SoCal and the SB 375, which how it relates, why it's important to us is that, SCAG is responsible for doing plans, and then they get penalized if they're not implemented, and it's the cities and the counties and the transportation commissions that actually implement those plans. And so there's a lot of talk at the state level, with the state about changes that need to happen in how some of that stuff is calculated so that more emphasis is placed on being able to implement those plans and having enough time to implement them, because they have a 4-year planning cycle, and we know how long it takes, just like you were asking recently, like how long sometimes it takes for things to be actually, built and implemented. And so the fact that the planning organizations get penalized if other people don't actually implement projects, like somehow in the middle of it all. And then there's also stuff related to, there's no recognition of the fact that, of like different vehicle types. So everything is just based on vehicle miles traveled. And that isn't the same measure of impact on greenhouse gases that it might have been, 20 years ago. So anyway, lots of ongoing conversations there. At the Clean Power Alliance board retreat, we had some lively discussions around whether or not there should be a goal of reaching 100% green energy before the state targets. And so there'll continue to be ongoing conversations around that. The general consensus was, of course, keep moving in that direction, but also be flexible and really wanting to balance concern for ratepayers with that desire to continue to have a larger portion of the portfolio be clean or renewable energy. And then for the CalCog meeting that I had on Monday, they continue to talk about SB 375. It has been a hot topic in a lot of the boards that I sit on. But then also there was an update on the CAP and Invest program, as it is now called. There are 3 tiers, and I would encourage you all to look at those 3 tiers, or if you want more information about that, I can make sure the city manager sends it out. CalCog also posts all of their stuff online. But the piece that is the most critical for us is that in the past there weren't 3 tiers, and now there are 3 tiers, and the programs that would most impact us are in tier 3. And tier 3 only gets funded after tiers 1 and 2 are funded. So if you have a year where that funding doesn't meet its target, you'll have reductions in tier 3, and like our youth and college kids ride free program in the county gets funded through tier 3. and some of our other transportation funding where we have limited sources of funding for Ventura County transportation, and some of those come through that Tier 3. So things like wildfire, the bullet train, some discretionary spending at the state level all went into Tiers 1 and 2, and some of those other things related to housing and transportation that already exist are in Tier 3. So just wanted to let you all have a little bit of an update, a heads up on that, and if you're interested in more information, I can make sure that the city manager, I can have him maybe include it in a Friday update if anyone else is interested in that. And then just a couple of, there were lots of events, but the two I will highlight, the Santa Paula High School Partnership Night is always fantastic. It seemed extra great this year. Lots of people have been talking about all the connections they made and conversations they had, and so that's really becoming a place where partnerships continue. You know, it really was starting to focus on the school district, but people are also finding ways to continue their connections and partnerships even beyond the school district. And then I attended the Ventura County Centennial and State of the College presentation and heard some of where they're at and what they're hoping to do. So that's what I will update for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cornejo.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. I, too, just like to congratulate the school district on that. It was just a wonderful partnership event that they had last week. Very inspiring, a lot of focus on the outreach they're doing for vocational training for some students. And I just think that they just met some really wonderful people that evening in discussions with the school district. It's a very, very worthy event for them to put on, I believe. This week I did meet with VRSD. I'm the representative for the city on the Ventura Regional Sanitation District, and they have hired a new general manager, Eric Zetz, and he is from Oxnard. And he really knows his stuff, and they're very happy. The board is very happy to have him, and we think it's a good future and a good placement for the district. Today I was on a Zoom with VCOG, Ventura Council of Government, subcommittee, the VRBI, the Ventura Regional, love all of these, Ventura Regional Broadband Initiative, and which I have written down here, and I'm just trying to remember it. We've got some grant money coming that's very important. They're trying to line it up, and so we will be bringing some letters to the mayor in hopes of signature and support for some of the grants that may come. Our region, this area in Santa Paula, is a big target for some of this funding for the need and both for qualifying in many ways for the funding to do that, to expand the broadband reach to the residents in our city and in the region in our immediate area. So that's the most important thing that I think came out of a long discussion with that committee, but we'll be bringing those probably within the week for signatures if you approve. Thank you.
All right. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. On Wednesday, the 24th, I attended virtually the VCEDA, Ventura County Economic Development Agency. It was their second meeting virtually on policy platform session, and Councilmember Crosswhite was there as well as Director Mason. I didn't attend the first one, but there's a lot of people that get on there, and they're talking about economic vitality and making sure that not only businesses, but those people involved in agriculture are involved. I also attended the Santa Paula Unified School District Appreciation. As it was stated, it's a great place for those people that work and live in town and teach our youth, get together to talk about accomplishments in the future. And a reminder that tomorrow would normally be the Senior Advisory Committee, but because they are short one person and they don't have a quorum, it will be postponed, but they are actively seeking a fifth member to be on the Senior Advisory Committee. They meet the first Thursday of the month at 1:30 at the Community Center. And Friday will be the last cruise night of this season. The band playing will be the Pier 101 Band, and that's my report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to save my report to the end. I'm going to move forward with City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Excuse my stuffiness this evening. I have a couple of announcements to make and some inquiries. The first is that the mayor asked that staff look into what the potential impacts to our community might be and to our city in particular as to the federal government shutdown, which occurred at midnight last night. So our various programs that have federal ties, like CDBG, HUD, our Continuum of Care, which is part of the homeless programs, as well as senior nutrition and those types of things. On the positive side, we have not yet been notified of any imminent or immediate impacts. However, what we do anticipate, and we don't expect that funding in any way will stop, but what we do anticipate is that if there's staff furloughs, that the level of response, the type of services that we're accustomed to are likely to slow down. There's going to be HUD staff furloughs that might slow down approvals for some of the CDBG monies. The new Continuum of Care grant award renewals have now been delayed until the federal budget is passed. That doesn't affect our current funding, but it could impact future funding. And the service providers for the Continuum of Care, we may see some funding gaps because of the loss of employees and also a reduction in kind of technical support and monitoring. So there's generally a few layers between us and the federal government, but it's not to say that there couldn't be some ripples coming down. So we're keeping our eyes out, keeping our ears peeled, talking with our representatives, and we'll keep you posted if there's something that might need city attention in that respect. The second thing is that I wanted to point out to the public that the annual League of California Cities Conference, which will be in Long Beach next week, is going to feature awards that various recipients throughout the state receive, and we are one of those award recipients. It's called the Helen Putnam Award, and it's for our outreach and engagement efforts. All of the council will be participating in that conference, and we'll have a chance to be recognized up on stage, but we'll also have our regional rep come to a council meeting to do some recognition. Our fellows have been hard at work getting a table ready because we're entitled to a booth in the expo hall and an opportunity to promote all of the programs that we've done, especially our Leadership Academy that was held last year. And one of the fellows put together this great little coloring book about kind of all the highlights of Santa Paula. I'm going to pass it around. We'll have it at the table. And you'll notice in here that there's a potential opportunity to really also make this into a bit of an economic development tool because it highlights some of our history, our businesses, our museums, and in any case, we'll explore ways that we might be able to use this, and it's not too expensive to print these because it's all in black and white because the whole idea is you're supposed to color them, right? And then finally, wanted to promote that we have a number of openings on committees and commissions. Pleased to report that we've already gotten 8 applicants. We happen to have 8 seats up, but all of those applicants don't necessarily match the seats we have available, but we have openings on Parks and Recreation, 2 vacancies plus 1 youth applicant. We have an opening on the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging. There's a member of the Measure T Committee who's expressed an interest in returning, but their term ends, so we'll need council's consideration of that. And then, of course, we have a vacancy on our Planning Commission, and 2 vacancies on our Senior Advisory Committee, which is why they're having trouble with quorums. Because you'll probably end up with 8, 10, 12 interviews, it's a lot to ask, and we've recognized that we won't be able to squeeze that into your next meeting, but it'd be great if we could make appointments, have council make appointments that night. So I will be asking Lori tomorrow to have you look at your calendars. We're hoping maybe on the 13th or 14th of October, from like end of the afternoon into the dinner hours, that we could get you lined up for interviews. So please be prepared when Lori sends that out to give us a quick response, because Julie will have a lot of effort that'll need to go into lining up interviews for you. So, and that concludes my comments.
Could you remind folks, if they're interested in joining any of our commissions, what that process looks like and where do they go for information?
Absolutely. You want to do that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. They can go on our website and find the application, but anytime that they would like to, they can call the city clerk here at the City Hall, and I can email them an application, or they can stop by and pick one up. Just for information, for all the openings that we currently have right now, what we're trying to do is get appointments done on October 15th, which will bring a deadline to be able to do that of October 8th. So if there is anyone interested in any of these, I hope to receive something by anyone by October 8th so that they can be part of the interview process and possible appointment. And of course, we will still continue to advertise, and you'll see advertisements in the paper and social media, and it'll give information out through there to be able to send in applications and where to get the applications. But I'm always available for any questions from the public.
And you said there's 8 vacancies currently?
Well, we currently have 9 people already ready for interview on several of these committees. And one of those is just for reappointment unless we get more applications in. So we always would like to get more applications in than to just reappoint as well. So that is where we are right now.
Great, thank you for that. And Mr. Singer, can you just provide just a quick update regarding the community town hall that we spoke about proceeding with, and how's that going in its development?
With respect to what?
To the mobile home park ordinance?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a time frame yet for that, but I think the direction was to try and do it in the fall. So I don't know if Monica has any further notions yet, but we haven't really started the planning for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that was what I understood too, that we were aiming for later this year in the fall.
One challenge we have is a good bit of that would have been performed by our deputy city manager in terms of organizing the event. So I'll be working with Mr. Mason, since they're in charge of housing and homeless and some of our ordinances, to bring about the workshop.
Okay. All right, any other questions? No? Awesome. Let's go on to the consent calendar. Is there anything on the consent calendar that we need to ask questions about? Pull? Yeah.
If I may, just a comment on 10A on the restroom for Teague Park. It's long in coming, and I'm really happy about this. We had my grandson's first birthday at Teague Park, and that restroom was so disgusting. People were going to other businesses away from the park in order to use restrooms. It was so bad. And I know the process is long and slow, and costs ended up being higher and all of that. But to be at the point where I hope to be authorizing purchase of a unit to be put in there now that my grandson is 5, and that's 4 years. So, as I say, long in coming. I couldn't be happier.
All right. No.
I would move approval of the consent calendar.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I will second that, Mayor.
All right.
And then just, I was waiting until we had a motion, but
Yeah.
I would like to just make the comment is, I remember when we approved what was supposed to be the original prefab restroom, and unfortunately, that company ended up being unable to bring that to fruition. So I am very pleased that we finally have a new company and a new bid, and I'm optimistic that this one will actually go forward.
All right.
And just one comment about the crossing guards. They've been around a long time. They perform a great service for our youth, but when Rotary went out to, at the end of the season, to thank them, we did get some comments that they hope there was a police presence because a lot of the drivers just kind of ignore them. So, and this is on the Main Street thoroughfare mostly where that happens. So maybe our police department during those times when the crossing guards are out there can be nearby so motorists can be a little more diligent.
All right. All's in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the next item of the agenda, public hearing, I believe. All right, we have verification, bless you, posting notice by the city clerk. Declarations
Yes.
of any conflicts. Declaration of any ex parte contacts. All right, I'd like to open the public hearing. And the staff presentation today is by Tom Tarantino and Ms. Kate Watkins. Come on down.
Well, good evening, council. It's a pleasure to be back. This is, as the mayor pointed out, kind of a joint effort between planning and the emergency services department from police. And fair warning at the outset, it's a bit of a texty presentation. My apologies, but it is. Cal OES is pretty specific about the language that they want to see included, and we are actually updating or inserting new language into the general plan, even though it's just a small blurb. We need to be sort of methodical about how we move through it. So we'll get through it as quickly as we can. So this is item 11A, approval of resolution number 7589, formally adopting the city's FEMA-approved local hazard mitigation plan as part of the Ventura County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan and amending the hazard and public safety element of the 2040 General Plan to reflect this adoption and required language and finding the action to be statutorily exempt from CEQA. So a little background on AB 2140. In 2006, the state legislature passed Assembly Bill 2140, allowing California counties and cities to be considered for additional state cost share on eligible public assistance projects by adopting their current FEMA-approved local hazard mitigation plans, or LHMPs. You're going to see that stated a lot coming up, into the safety element of their general plan. This adoption, along with other requirements, makes the county or city eligible to be considered for for part or all of its local share costs on eligible public assistance projects to be provided by the state through the California Disaster Assistance Act, or CDAA. So really the meat of what this is about is for eligible public assistance projects, the typical local non-federal cost share is 25% of the total project cost. CDAA can allow the state to pay up to 18.75% of the non-federal share that would otherwise fall upon the county or city to pay for eligible public assistance projects once the legislature has passed a bill allowing additional state funding after a disaster occurs. So long story short, upon approval of the legislature, counties and cities that are AB 2140 compliant are also eligible to be considered for the remaining 6.25% local share to be funded by the state, essentially covering the entire local share cost for eligible public assistance projects. So by being 2140 compliant, you get that extra 6.25%. AB 2140 is not a requirement. It is an optional state incentive to help counties and cities become more resilient to natural hazards. So as such, it is recommended that the city comply with AB 2140, again, to go after that extra amount. A little background on the LHMP. Rather than enact a number of individual LHMPs that might have otherwise competed for limited resources, in 2021, a coalition of Ventura County jurisdictions began a planning process to prepare for and lessen the impacts of specified natural hazards by pooling resources and creating a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, or MJHMP, that could be consistently applied to the defined Ventura County planning area. This MJHMP could be used to ensure eligibility for specified grant funding sources. The hazards identified in the MJHMP Things from anything from dam failure, inundation, to drought, earthquake, flooding, including levee failures, landslides and mass movements, sea level rise and coastal erosion, severe storms, severe weather events, including heat and freeze events, tsunamis, wildfires, all of the bad things, and a few that we have seen here in town. The MJHMP compiled this information into a unified framework to ensure a comprehensive and coordinated plan covering all organizations and partners within the VCPA. So this is the main slide regarding AB 2140 compliance, and you're going to see this slide again in a minute. But this outlines the steps that must be completed before Cal OES can issue a letter of AB 2140 compliance. A jurisdiction must have formally adopted their LHMP via resolution. They must have a current FEMA-approved or approvable pending adoption LHMP, formally adopted their most current approved LHMP into the safety element of their general plan via resolution. That's what we're doing here tonight. Included language within the safety element of their general plan that references their LHMP. Included a web link, appendix, or language within the safety element that directs the public to the most current approved LHMP in its entirety. And then emailed a link to the updated general plan safety element webpage along with the signed adoption resolutions to the Cal OES AB 2140 inbox for review and approval. So a little background on this. On August 17th, 2022, the Santa Paula City Council unanimously adopted Resolution 7417, authorizing the adoption of relevant portions of the Ventura County MJHMP. This satisfied the first requirement that we just saw on the previous slide. In January 2023, FEMA notified the Ventura County Sheriff's Office of Emergency Services that they had received documentation from the cities of Fillmore, Moore Park, Ojai, San Buenaventura, and Santa Paula, and the Channel Islands Beach Community Services District, confirming their adoption of the multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation update 2022, and confirming that these jurisdictions are in conformance with the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 44, Part 201, Section 6, until August 16th, 2027, 5 years from the plan's original approval date. All that to say that this satisfied the second requirement that we just saw. So, in order to be fully compliant with AB 2140, the City of Santa Paula must now satisfy the above requirements the requirements 3 through 6 that we just saw on the other slide, by formally adopting the FEMA-approved MJHMP into the safety element of the 2040 General Plan, and making appropriate and required language changes to the safety element to reflect this adoption. So, the language on the next slide would be added to Section 5, Hazards and Public Safety, under Part 1, Purpose and Legal Requirements of Subsection A, Overview of the General Plan. The language to be added, information regarding hazards and public safety planning presented in this section reflects available data and plans in effect at the time of the last General Plan update, 2040, or before. On October 1st, 2025, the Santa Paula City Council adopted Resolution Number 7589. Again, that's what we're considering tonight. Formally adopting the FEMA-approved Ventura County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan, Update 2022. There's the URL that you can find it at, which was one of those requirements that we saw. Into this section, which supersedes any prior references to hazards and public safety planning contained herein. The Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan for the Ventura County Planning Area, which includes the City of Santa Paula, was developed in accordance with the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 and followed FEMA's Local Hazard Mitigation Plan guidance. The MJHMP incorporates a process where hazards are identified and profiled, the people and facilities at risk are analyzed, and mitigation actions are developed to reduce or eliminate hazard risk. The implementation of these mitigation actions, which include both short and long-term strategies, involve planning, policy changes, programs, projects, and other activities. So a good bit of that statement comes directly from Cal OES, and that's what they want to see. And that's why we read the whole thing, to make sure that if they watch this presentation, we got it all in there. So regarding the general plan amendment process, SPMT 16-21220 provides that the Planning Commission or City Council may at any time initiate an application to amend the general plan up to 4 times per calendar year. This is the first amendment of the general plan this calendar year. Per 16-21230, the Planning Commission shall act by resolution to recommend to the City Council approval. That happened by a unanimous vote at the Planning Commission meeting on August 26, 2025. And then per SPMC 16-21240, the City Council shall then consider the Planning Commission's recommendation and act by resolution to approve or deny the application. A majority vote of the entire council is required to amend the general plan, and that's the resolution we're considering tonight. So here's our friendly slide again that we saw earlier. You can see that the first two steps are complete. Steps 3 through 5 are what we are considering for approval tonight, and then step 6 is an administrative function that we'll take care of if you choose to adopt. The project is exempt from further review per section 15183 of CEQA, as the actions create no inconsistency with the development density established by the 2040 general plan policies for which an environmental impact report was certified. And there are no project-specific significant effects from these actions which are peculiar to the project, and the actions do not have the potential for significant or cumulative impacts not already addressed in the certified 2040 general plan environmental impact report. Tonight's meeting was publicly noticed on Wednesday, September 17th in the Santa Paula Times. And with that, we are recommending that you find the proposed resolution statutorily exempt from CEQA under section 15183, and that you adopt resolution number 7589, formally adopting the city's FEMA-approved local hazard mitigation plan as part of Ventura County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, and amending the hazard and public safety element of the 2040 general plan to reflect this adoption and required language. You do have the option to modify or request modifications to the resolution or to deny the resolution, but beware that the denial will result in the city's inability to seek additional cost share funding for eligible projects under CDAA. And with that, we do have Kate Watkins, the Emergency Services Coordinator, here tonight from Santa Paula Police Department. If you have any specific questions regarding the hazard mitigation itself. And with that, open up for questions.
Are there questions for the team? Anything you'd like to state? You're okay? All right. Yeah, go ahead.
This is just one general question, not exactly related to this, but for the whole process. Are there other cities in the county that are doing multi-jurisdictional associations as well in order to accomplish this? Is this common? I mean, it makes sense, but is this common or atypical?
So for Ventura County, we are in a multi-jurisdictional plan altogether. So there are cities in California where they do a local hazard mitigation plan themselves. Mm-hmm. That being said, we chose as a county to pursue doing it together, which is beneficial for us. In regards to this adoption of AB 2140. Mm-hmm. We received notice that we needed to adopt it in our plan. And so cities in our county all received this notice. So the individual cities are working through this with their respective councils and planning commissions to adopt it.
Okay. Okay, just I wanted that clarification. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Crossway.
Just for the general public question, because I know in other cities, they've had sort of robust public input and sessions as part of some of the adoptions of these plans. So are there any parts of the plan itself that directly impact our residents, and will we be doing any informational sessions? Or I know one question I get a lot is, well, how am I going to know which direction to evacuate if there's a fire? Some of those kinds of things. What are we doing? I mean, you're here, so, what are we doing to let people know sort of where to look for information? Just sort of some of those practical things that are top of their mind.
So there's a few different things in there that I really want to break apart. So for this plan, this was adopted back in, I believe, 2021 is when it was signed. It was started much prior, and that was prior to us having this position with the city. So we are going to have to adopt a new plan in 2027. So the county is starting conversations and looking at planning ahead so that we can be in full compliance and adopt it before this plan expires. So that is the goal that we are looking for over the next 2 years. In regards to emergency preparedness planning evacuations, so there's multiple resources for everybody in our city to utilize. So on our website, we have the Emergency Operations Plan. That is a very lengthy document that goes over a bit of everything on emergency preparedness, what the city goals are. For very practical information, I would request that everybody in our city signs up for VC Alert. This will give you a direct notification if, for example, there is a wildfire coming and you need to evacuate immediately. Another resource which I will add, VC Alert, completely free. This is emergency notifications, so you don't have to pay or anything, and it is sent out in English and Spanish. Another way to look is the vcemergency.com. This is actually, they just changed their website, vcemergency.org. So this is, again, a resource for the entire community, and this will give you information about what is going on. So it'll show countywide where our temporary evacuation points are, a TEP. It'll show where where a shelter is and if that's been open, and those are welcome to everyone. And all those resources will continually update for our community. So you can see what areas in the county have been evacuated for a fire. So you can check on your family members if you know that they live in a certain neighborhood and go, oh, I think my mom was just evacuated from her home. Maybe I should contact her. So there's all sorts of resources there, and I would encourage everyone to become familiar with looking up that website and checking it out for that information. When we have to evacuate, we will use VC Emergency and VC Alert to keep in contact with all of our residents for those. And I don't want to say, here's one spot to look, because as we have seen in the past year, there's all different types of emergencies, and it is ever-changing. So it will never be one set route of you will evacuate this way. So we will keep the public updated and provide those resources through VC Emergency and VC Alert.
Thank you. And then just one comment to my colleagues. I know we had a presentation on hazard mitigation plans and public safety elements, and some cities who've chosen to do it themselves have had a hard time making sure that they were compliant between the two documents, and they'd turn them in and they'd have to come back and revise things to try to make the two different things jive. And so there are efficiencies, and I think it probably helps if there were a major disaster, which hopefully we don't have. But, you know, if there were, to have some of that consistency across the different jurisdictions, everybody's sort of working on the same playbook.
All right, so we have some recommendations before us. Council members? Oh, sorry. That concludes the staff presentation. Ms. Latshaw, is there any public comments?
We have no public comments this evening.
All right, I'd like to close the public hearing and move into discussion and action. Council members? Some recommendations? We have two. Yes, Ms. Cornejo.
I will take that on if there is no discussion at this point, and move that we find that the adoption of the proposed resolution is statutorily exempt from the review under the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, under Public Resources Code Section 151A3. And if we can take them both in one motion, adopt resolution number 7589, formally adopting the city's Federal Emergency Management Agency-approved local hazard mitigation plan as part of the Ventura County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan, and amending the hazard and public safety element of the City of Santa Paula 2040 General Plan to reflect this adoption and required language.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, there's a second. Any additional questions for staff? Comments, concerns? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you both. All right, we are moving on to action items 12A, Joint Santa Paula Fillmore Ventura County one-year agreement for operational funding of the Spirit of Santa Paula Harbor Navigation Center for fiscal year 25-26. Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You have the direction for council tonight, or the request for council tonight, is to authorize the city manager to execute this agreement. But also, if you'll notice, there's a second point to this, and that's to authorize the city manager to make non-monetary edits to the agreement. And the reason being, about 10 days ago, we had about a week ago, we had our last meeting with the county and Fillmore, and we went through the agreement with the understanding that there's two pieces, well, three pieces actually. We need to be here tonight to get funding and get approval as soon as possible. But looking at the dates for Fillmore City Council and the county supervisors, we wanted to make sure that we had things in sync, so as quickly as possible, we had an agreement that everyone agreed to. We had comments coming in as late as about noon today. So what you have in front of you right now is a red line version of the agreement and then a complete agreement without the red lines. At this point, we've had about 3 weeks of discussion. After the first meeting, we all agreed on what the funding is, what the funding distribution is. So everything past that has been discussing and negotiating what should be in this agreement that everyone can agree to, and that's what the red lines are in there. And some of the edits, we received some comments from Councilmember Conejo, and then from the county again today, and from Fillmore again today. But the main, I think, I'm not going to go too much into the history, but I wanted to get into where we are right now as far as really changes from what occurred last time as far as the process. Probably the biggest one is this, what's before you is a one-year agreement. So we agreed collectively that, not understanding what the needs would be for Spirit moving forward, what they would do as far as their own fundraising, being able to look at that, and by spring of next year, be able to see where they're at and what their needs are, and then reassess as a group what we would look at for the following year, for the 26-27 year. Another thing we looked at was, because of that, we removed a good portion of the termination clause in there, because we were talking about what happens in year 2 or following that. We're only doing a one-year agreement, so we had several sections in there that we could pull up because of that. And then another element that changed was timing, and I think you're all familiar with, we had some challenges last time with when they got paid, and both the frequency and it being on time. So we've changed that, we've truncated that down. I think the county recommended a 90-day cycle. We've put that into a 30-day cycle of what we're going to be able to provide to the county as far as receipts and so that they can pay us. And the final thing is that what happened before is we had funding put together, and at each month and each quarter, we provided that funding to Spirit. In this agreement, what Spirit will be required to do is provide invoices for those months, and the payments will be based on those invoices. And the idea is that what they're receiving is based on their operational needs. They have a lot of other, facility needs and other, not operational things, but capital costs that they have that are not included in what this agreement is. This agreement is focused on their operations. I think that's the main things I really wanted to hit on. Right. Yeah, I can answer any questions at this point, but that's, I think, those kind of hit the low-hanging fruit of where we're moving today.
Can you explain Exhibit A a little bit in detail? Just so that everyone understands how this formula is going to be working based on operational expenses?
You're talking, their operations?
Yeah, page 13.
Well, and basically, we're breaking down what they have as, these are the things that are accounted for within what's considered operational expenses. And there's a lot of other functions they have. Like, one thing that we've kind of bounced around a little bit on is the other shelters within the county have an extreme food budget. Something like, I'm trying to remember, $8,500 a month?
5,000.
5,000?
85.
$85,000 a month, I'm sorry. And Food Share and other agencies provide food to Spirit, which is a zero cost. But again, that's something that's not included in operations, but things that are related to that as far as providing that food, serving people within that space. So you'll see things in here that break some of those things down.
So under the old formula, we would give a certain amount per month, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
And so under this new formula, we're going to reimburse a % of operating expenses?
We're going to reimburse up to the amount that is assigned. So for us, it's $200,000, for a city of Fillmore, $150,000, and then the county matches that. So they've provided this as their operational expenses, and we're, if you'll notice, their total operating expenses are $745,000. Our total amount that we're providing to them is $700,000. So there is a little bit of a gap there, but that's also looking at what they can do as far as fundraising, and also what happens within this next year. There's been some changes in their budget, both in staffing and moving things around to come closer to what we're providing. But the key to this, which is, I know it's a challenging environment out there, is what they can do as far as, outreach, philanthropy, and grants to be able to expand what they can do.
So when residents ask, what are we funding in particular? We're saying that we are funding a nonprofit's operational expenses.
Correct. That's
And the total that we're funding is $200,000 a month.
$200,000 for the
A year.
A year.
And they're not going to be standardized payouts, right? It's going to be based on, hey, this month our operational expenses were more because we served more. Is there going to be a fluctuation?
No, there's no fluctuation there. It's just that we are providing the same amount on a monthly basis as is Fillmore and the county on a quarterly basis, and they just need to be able to provide receipts that show up to that amount. And anything that exceeds that, that's going to be their need to be able to do fundraising for at this point.
You had a question, yeah?
Yeah, I had a question on the language in the general provisions, I guess it's now section 2, where it talks about on or before April 1st, 2026, staff of each party will meet and jointly determine the projected operating budget for the shelter. Should that, I know that there's a separate MRU that's specific directly between the city and the shelter, but shouldn't there be something in that language that says, in consultation with Spirit? Or do we need to change this wording to say that would determine the party's share of the operating budget? Like, it sounds like the three entities without Spirit are setting the budget for Spirit, and that seems.
No, that's valid. And one thing that's really helpful, I'm glad you brought that up, is we need to bring back to you at the next council meeting the operational agreement, but the ability to do that is going to be based on what this is finalized, because there's some things in here we want to make sure that everything matches up. But I think that's an excellent point in language that should be included, because that's one thing we want to make sure. This is a partnership, a three-way partnership in funding, but a four-way partnership in how this works.
Right. And
So
I
thank
just
you for
think
that.
That should be something that is sort of, that's clear from the document. I also had a question. I was trying to tell in this new version, there are a lot of different timelines of like 30 days here and 60 days here, and for the county, it's 30 now here, and it's Spirit, or Fillmore, it's 60 there. So do we have an idea of how we're going to keep track of, like, there's the monthly payment, but then there's all of these other requirements, like you receive this documentation from Spirit, and then in different amounts of timelines, you're supposed to share it with the county and Fillmore. Are we going to just try to do it on whichever of those timelines is shorter, or are we going to try to align those two timelines as we go through, or?
There are some differences in timelines because of the difference in when payments are being made, both to us and to Spirit, so they kind of correspond with that. But to answer I guess the $64,000 question, which is how does this managed and make sure that things are on time? And our finance department has stepped up into this from the standpoint of accounts payable to be able to work through that. And then we'll be working with Spirit on receipts. So it's going to be more of a team effort than it was last time.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we sort of had a plan, because it's a little complicated when you read through it, so just making sure that we're able to follow through on all the provisions. And then my last question was on the section for reporting and accountability. I'm glad to see that section 4 was struck. Because that's beyond Spirit's control entirely. But I still had a question on, and I think this is a question for the operator, because it says here that, if 4 of the 5, like, is this language in this reporting and accountability section, is this standard language that the county has in all of their agreements?
Yes.
So are they, because it says that we will reduce by 5% if 4 out of 5 of these aren't being met. And to me, that seems a little bit like a mandate and instead of a may, right? Like, because I'm sure that these are in here just as we want there to be accountability of effort. And so as long as that effort is being made, I just was having a little bit of heartburn over the word will, right? Assuming that all of the effort that, we know that the shelter is working very hard. In most places, the city runs the shelters themselves. So, I just want to, I don't want to, it felt a little, I just didn't like the will.
One thing I can mention in that, because this is really about accountability and performance, we do have some latitude in that from the county. And that was one of the things in striking out Section 4.
Which I
So-
very
so-
much
so-
appreciate
So if
that
there's,
that's no
if there's
longer in
a
there.
recommendation of softening the language in I that gives, collective counsel more comfort, we can do that.
I mean, I would feel at least more comfortable with may as opposed to will, because so long as, yes.
Well, you'd also have to get concurrence from the other
I know,
parties, but
and
yeah,
it
that would
hasn't
be-
gone to them
yeah,
yet,
that
though,
will be
so
brought up with
it
them.
could potentially go as a recommendation that, because I mean, 3 of these 5 seem relatively reasonable, but 1 and 3 seem to be potentially in conflict with one another. Because the one is saying exits to positive destinations, shelter operator shall facilitate exits to permanent housing to, or other positive destinations for at least 30% of the residents. And then it says, shelter operator shall ensure an average length stay of 180 days or less. And that doesn't seem reasonable to me at all, given the fact that there's not very many places for people to live and rental vacancy rates are really low. So I guess I'm just, that's why, part of why I'm having a hard time with the word will being up above.
Yeah, I get.
And I get that that's county language, but I'm just,
No, I get that both of those are both variable and externalities, so it's, not something that the shelter or any of us have any control over. One thing, though, we did have a conversation with Kay in the operation, and that 180 days, when you look at how many people go through the shelter within a year, that average ends up being much less than that. And I just talked to Kay, she mentioned that there was just, I think, 15 people in this last quarter? In this last month that found housing out of the shelter. So, and understanding that it could be 2 next month, it could be 10 next month. But
okay, I want to, and I don't know if, and I don't know if the shelter operator wants to, executive director wants to has any comment on that section of it and feel whether, and I know that the county would feel more have to agree to it, but I just.
This was pretty much directed by the county, and we're not even a party to that. So what they say is going to go. What Kimberly Alber's comment was that some people come in and they're 2 weeks, and then someone might be there for a year and a half, and it kind of averages out that way. If somebody leaves for 2 weeks, there's something wrong. They don't like rules, could be anything. So they're saying, well, that could average out to be 180, but in reality, it's more than 180. So if I'm tied to that and I can't meet it, what are they going to do? I mean, they can't shut us down because we didn't meet that, but we try. So this month, great month. We had 15 matches and 9 placements who left Harvard. So if the county wants to build us more places for people to go, we'll probably move that along much faster.
So it would be my request that that word will is changed to may in the section above if the county is going to be strict on keeping these bullet points as are, because then that gives us the flexibility to say, well, yes, they are doing their best. We don't have to do that. I just don't like the word will.
Even if it said the goal is, I'd be happy with that. What Kimberly did say is they're trying to bring this agreement into alignment with the other cities' agreements, and it says the same thing, but even if we just said it's a goal, I could live with that.
So I think if staff can take that before, between now and when it goes to Fillmore.
Councilwoman, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the council adopting tonight with recommendations for changes.
Okay.
I think the caveat I would ask is, for the council to express whether you're comfortable if the change isn't agreeable, that this can still move forward.
Right.
Because I'd hate to go down with a mandate and then we get rejected and then we're not, we're delayed.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Cornejo, and then I'll follow you.
I have quite a few things, so let me see if I can make it logical here. First of all, I do believe that Spirit does important work. I think a couple of years ago, because of a dire situation on funding, there was an agreement that was rushed, an MOU that was not workable. The payments weren't made in a timely fashion so that they could function normally because they didn't know when the money was coming. The percent of the requirement for people to go in and out did not work. And there was also a promise and a requirement that executive director be hired to do fundraising, so that the goal would be they would either be self-sufficient or on the path to self-sufficiency at the end of 2 years. Well, it probably was unreasonable, but that was how we all got into it. We ended up also paying more because we were expecting more monies coming in, and about 70,000 didn't come in. So this did have to be cleaned up, and I knew that. And that's why last year, over a year ago, I asked that Spirit give a report. And Kay Wilson Bolton gave a very honest, open report of what was going on, the situation of the things that needed to be fixed, and what was working, what was not working. And so my frustration is, since last fall and now, I don't think our council, maybe it's because the county has been very forceful on trying to manage this, we've not felt like, at least I as a council person don't feel like I've had any say on this. And so I'm very frustrated about that. And I just think somehow this should have been brought to us sooner or dealt with sooner, so that we could have more of an input to understand how this is working. That being said, Spirit is important to us. It is unusual that we are funding a nonprofit as opposed to taking this on. But if you take the 49 people that are served and you divide the money that we are paying out of that, it's less than $5,000 per person in a year. When you think about cities that are purchasing tiny houses, or the cost is far greater for the care of the homeless in their jurisdiction. And so, and again, were we to not agree to this, that doesn't mean we're off free for not having to spend $200,000. It means that we will find other ways of problems that need to be solved and funded to care for those that are homeless in our community. So I have all of these swirling, frustrations and anger about how it came down the first time, but it was in a rush and it was in a desperate situation. We had, legislators involved and promises made, making requirements of this that sounded good, that led us to those expectations that couldn't happen. And so that's why I want to make sure that whatever comes out of this, that we're not kicking the can another year, that what comes out of this is genuine, workable, and can serve those in need, including, is it still the only facility in the county that serves children? Is that still the case? Okay, so that makes the Spirit, the Harvard location, very special in that as well. And so I think we need to take special care and compassion for that. That being said, I don't like having the county, yes, they have the right, they're matching funds, kind of pushing this through, and I would have liked more input on this. And I would insist on it next time. If we do a year deal, I'd like to be working on it like in the second month. Okay, how is this working? Mainly, is the funding coming through so that they can function, because that was crippling them because of the payment schedules not being followed through. And so I just really think that we should look again at this and make sure that we are serving those in need in our community, not adding extra burden or cost in other ways, but also making sure that they're successful. And I would like as well to see if there are ways that they can do the fundraising so that they can become, if not fully self-sufficient, better at self-funding. And that's always been a challenge for them due to personnel and the immediate care issues that they've had. So I appreciate that you've made a couple of changes in here that I sent in on kind of short notice. Not substantial, but I just feel that the narrative is better, and I appreciate your already adding that today to this copy. But I support what we're doing, but I'm very frustrated at the process, and I just think it needs to be better than that. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I have a few questions. Can you just, for the public, state, for the public to understand the funding formula, Can you share what the total amount that the county is contributing?
The city will be contributing $200,000 for the year.
Okay.
Fillmore will be contributing $150,000, and then the county will match that, which will be $350,000, for a combined total of $700,000.
When this funding formula didn't exist, were the operational costs still the same?
They were,
Because we just came in 2 years ago, right?
yeah, they were more, they were a little bit more before.
They were more.
Because as Councilmember Canejo mentioned, there was the hope of hiring both a grant administrator and a general manager. But, and that's where we were last year in the cycle. We were committed to $288,000, which we didn't have. We still had $200,000. There was an amendment to the agreement that we ended up paying $215,000, and Fillmore reduced their amount. But this time around, they have committed what they committed initially, which is $150,000, which is, and part of the discussion, just is for some background, we discussed with the county and with Fillmore, one of the big, I wouldn't say challenges, but just the operational elements of the shelter being in the city of Santa Paula is we have a police department, we have Parks and Rec, we have Public Works that do have things they need to do in the city that are related to challenges with unhoused population, which the county doesn't necessarily have and Fillmore doesn't necessarily have because the shelter is here. So they acknowledged that, and Fillmore, stepped up with a little bit more. So hope that's helpful.
So when these three funding partners came into the equation, who were the funding partners before that were supporting the organization?
Completely off of philanthropy.
Completely. And so there's been a complete shift, a change, obviously.
There's been a
from
change.
people being able to.
And also the landscape in nonprofits has dramatically changed in the last 18 months to 2 years. That's the other thing that's been really different.
So what, in terms of sustainability, long-term sustainability, board, staff, like what is that looking like now? Are we starting to get are you starting to get in a better place? Are you starting to work smarter, not harder? Like what is the strategy that the agency is doing to create long-term stability? Because this is 1 year, correct?
Correct.
And then what?
It's really what we're seeing in nonprofits. I had a little bit of a discussion with Kay earlier. What it comes down to is partnerships. There's philanthropy, but to coin a phrase, many hands make for light work. It's being able to find more partners that are involved in this space that can be helpful in the aspects that they have. And part of that's county departments, continuum of care, and what's coming through Prop 1 with behavioral health funds. So it's being able to look at where, chasing the money and chasing the organizations that can partner with Spirit to be able to make it be sustainable and
Is the
successful.
organization ready for that pivot? Have they laid the groundwork in order to, okay, this is like another year, right? Do you have the leadership in place, the board in place? How is the organization preparing? Because we're already 90 days into that year of the, right? So, yeah, the organization itself, how are,
Looking at him. Well, can I spill the beans on some of that? Okay, yes. Well, I'm back at the management level. We eliminated the position of executive director so we could meet some funding limitations. So I have been in touch with Dignity Moves and the Housing Authority. We are working together on an application for Prop 1 money, $15 million. We will know on the 28th if we've been approved for that. It will provide housing and put Spirit in a position of providing case management, administering Medi-Cal funds, and property management. So that's one element where I see the pivot. It's a good word. I'm also talking to Mercy House about partnering in the management of the shelter. That's what they do for a living. We did it because we were concerned about the people in our community. They do it for a living. They care too, but they're a corporation that does this for a living. We're a nonprofit that does this because we wanted to serve the community. So I met with them on Friday and told them about the meeting tonight. So as soon as I can share with them what your decision is, I'm going to meet with them to have serious conversation about either a partnership or I don't know, some other form of working together so that we're maximizing funds. They have case managers. They can take some of our people and manage them. I don't want any of our people to lose their jobs, of course, but, you know, when you're fragile, you do what you have to do as business people to survive. And so I'm prepared to lead the board as much as they're willing. Our president is very much on board on the financing. We've added 3 new board members. We hope to have 1 more in December, who are people who take the long view of what the possibilities are. You know, in reality, it's possible in 5 years we don't have a need for homeless services. If we would all, including the federal government, focus on prevention, we wouldn't have homeless people. But that means you help with utilities, you help with rent, you stabilize families so that kids are not being displaced. The kids in our shelter have so much trauma because they hear their parents talking, well, we got to do this, and they're going to be here, and can't pay the bills, and they come to us with fears that we don't know how to manage. So we're partnership with behavioral health. We have 8 beds. We work closely with them. So yes, I'm trying to position this organization so that we become, you know, part of a field of dreams, of possibilities, and that we aren't just focused on providing beds. On to costs. Our cost is $38 a bed per night. That is so far superior to almost anybody else. The national average is like $129 a night. So we're a bargain. Unfortunately, we're not a rich city. And when I hear our public works people and talk about streets and so many needs, thank you for putting a laser on the most vulnerable and giving us a chance to solve this problem. But I'm not sitting here, I don't want to be here a year from now and have people dictating how we're going to run our business. But I'm being polite because our funding partners are necessary or we're done. And our funders, who were on the nonprofit side, they're tired of funding homeless activities because the feds have allocated and wasted so much money on this problem that they think that it should be done by now. So that was a whole lot of information to your question.
Very helpful information.
Okay.
I appreciate that insight. Okay. Additional questions? Let's go back to the,
Would everyone be ready for me to try to take a stab at a motion?
go for it.
All right. So I would move that we authorize the city manager to execute an agreement substantially in the form attached with the County of Ventura and the City of Fillmore to share operational costs for the Spirit of Santa Paula Harvard Shelter located at 1498 East Harvard Boulevard. Authorize the city manager to make non-monetary edits to the final and necessary agreement to conform with the version approved by the City of Fillmore, City Council, and County Board of Supervisors, provided such changes do not create undue hardship for the city. And the request for consideration by the other entities that I would include would be that we include language that the parties develop any future budget in conversation with Spirit, and that in the reporting and accountability section C, that something along the lines of either the will be changed to may in that section, or there be some language about that the goal is related to those 5 accountability markers, something to that extent.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
All right, any additional comments, questions, concerns?
And then just a comment or sort of direction for staff that, like, within, I guess it'd be another 3 months from now, that there are continued conversations, maybe with the Housing and Homeless Subcommittee, to sort of be updated on those conversations that Spirit is having. And 'cause by April, there has to be a decision made on whether or not any kind of extension is needed. So those conversations need to be happening well before April.
Thank you for that recommendation, Ms. Crosswhite. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks. All right, we're moving on to item 12B, designation of voting delegate for the league conference. Ms. Latshaw.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm here tonight to bring to you as a reminder that every year the League of California Cities converse and on a member drive for any General Assembly of the California Annual Conference and Expo. Each city is asked to designate a voting delegate and an alternate who plans to attend the league, which I know that all of our current council members have registered for that. The voting delegate votes on behalf of the city on conference resolutions that will guide the city and the league in efforts to improve the quality of responsiveness and vitality of a government. Traditionally, the mayor serves as the voting delegate, or an alternate is chosen by the council. This year, since all 5 council members will be there, we recommend that the council designate the mayor as the main designee for this, and also to appoint a alternate, if not 2 alternates, if you feel you would like to have 2 alternates.
The Vice Mayor?
I move to nominate the mayor as a voting delegate for the League of California Cities.
Okay. Motion, is there a second?
Are we going to do the alternate as a separate motion, or do
Should
we
we?
put them together?
Just
Because I think we should just put the vice mayor in as the alternate and make it one motion.
You like
If the
to amend that?
maker of the motion would be amenable to that friendly amendment,
I would accept that friendly amendment.
then I would second it.
All right, motion second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Latshaw.
Thank you.
Future agenda items, we're almost there. Mr. Singer?
I don't have anything in particular to report, other than that we will anticipate a closed session at your next meeting. That will probably start 4:30 or 5 o'clock. And then you'll just then be preceded by a regular council meeting. No study session. And we'll look into council's availability for those interviews.
All right, and I'm just going to save my mayor's report for last, as I mentioned, so I'm just going to announce a couple things. First one, as part of the Ventura County Air Pollution Control Board, there's a current extension of the old vehicle buyback program, so if you have a vehicle that's 2003, it's still operational, you can actually get $2,000 for that vehicle. And I know there's many in the community that love to keep their cars in their garages, and this might be an opportunity to revisit their vehicle to see if it meets the criteria. The information is available on the social media site and on the website for the city, as well as we're bringing an opportunity for the gas-powered lawn equipment replacement program. So working with Director Barnes and through the Pollution Control Board, so that residents that have gas-powered lawn equipment could turn it in. It's one of the high pollutants that we have, and they'll get a voucher to purchase new equipment. And so that's going to be worked on. I do want to, we just ended yesterday the third quarter of the year, like a year's gone by real quick. And so I'll provide my written report for the third quarter on the 15th. I do want to mention something that, I think we all deal with in this environment, this day and age of social media. And one of the things that I think is important to mention is that, we're all here because obviously we care about the city and its direction. We work hard, we spend a lot of time doing what we do, and each of us brings a different flavored ingredient to the work that we do in public service. It's important that we realize that we're your neighbor, could be a friend, could be an acquaintance, could be a family member. We're all part of this city. We all have a role. So it's been concerning to me in terms of behavior from people making accusations that erode the trust that we work so hard to build. And it's easy for people, when accusations are made on social media, to start driving this conversation and erode. In a world where we're seeing such division, I remind ourselves that that's not what the values of this city exemplifies. I think we all understand what makes our city so special is the connection that we have to one another and the sense of community that we have here. Whether you were born here, whether you moved here, something gravitated you to this ecosystem here. So when the accusations are made on social media about violations to the Brown Act, remind you that learn what you're accusing people of and make sure that you get the facts before you make accusations. Because once you put that stuff out there, it takes a life of its own. And in a place where we have churches that get burned, people that get shot, children that get killed, we don't want to feed that environment. We're your neighbor. And so let's just remember that. We care, we serve, and we might not always agree on things, but we're here to do the work. And so I end with that final thought today, and I thank those people that believe in what this city is doing. And for those that don't, all I can say is vaya con Dios. So thank you so much. Have a good night, Santa Paula. Meeting adjourned.